pride, passion, and pageantry of college football lives here. This is the Paul Feinbaum Show, Hour 2 podcast.
This might be college football heaven.
All right, we're going straight to the phone lines right now. Our next caller is James from Pennsylvania. James, welcome to the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Hey, Mr. Harper.
What's up, James? I appreciate the Mr. Harper, but thank you.
I'd like to talk about the Irish today.
All right, let's talk about them.
So, you know how there are haters of Notre Dame and there are many supporters, but I don't understand, when are people going to start to realize that this is a new Notre Dame team and they're going to get over the fact that they're good and they're going to be ranked in the top 5. Now, I mean, I saw Paul for the first time. He kind of supported Notre Dame. He even said they should be higher than 4. Yet you see people online saying they shouldn't be ranked in the top 10. I mean, when are they going to change? When is this all going to change? They need to realize that this isn't the 1980 Lou Holtz Notre Dame football team now. This is a new team, a more talented team with more resources. So when is it going to change?
So, number one, James, you're hitting on a lot of great points as far as Notre Dame is concerned. I think Notre Dame is one of the most talented teams or rosters in all of the country. You got to give your head coach a ton of credit. He has recruited his tail off, and people want to go to Notre Dame because of Freeman. Like, you just give him credit. And so this team does feel different for Notre Dame. Let's bring up the schedule, because if anybody's going to hate James, this is where I'm going to hate at. The schedule is it's probably below mid. I hope you speak that language. It's below mid, bro. It's below mid. All right, Wisconsin, Rice. There's no losses, but it's also not a lot of competition, okay, on this schedule. You're looking at BYU. Hopefully that's a really good game. I would assume it would be. But everybody else, you guys should run the table. If Notre Dame has one loss on their schedule, possibly against Miami, a team that they lost to last year, then I completely understand. Notre Dame, they just said if they're in the top 12 rankings, them starting at 4 according to the AP poll, pretty much guarantees Notre Dame a chance to get into the playoffs. Now, they have to win once they get in. And last year, 2 years ago, they beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Crazy circumstances, but they outplayed Georgia that day. For me, that was when my opinion about Notre Dame changed, Jay. So James, it's not just about right now, and you will have to continue to earn the respect, because the respect is not going to come when everybody looks at the schedule. And right now, Notre Dame being an independent team, they're able to pick and choose who they want to play. And right now, the biggest and best game they have is Miami. So as long as Miami stays good, then Notre Dame will have the wins. I just hope they don't. Like, they're not playing USC anymore. Like, those are teams and games that I feel like Notre Dame has to have consistently on their schedule if they're going to want the respect on the outside. Because like you said, James, it's a lot of people that hate on Notre Dame just because they're Notre Dame. And it's a lot of people that love Notre Dame because they love Notre Dame. Nobody in the middle.
And I hate the argument of how we get a pass because we're independent. I don't think that's right. If any other fan of their team, if that team was independent, they'd want to stay independent too. I mean, look at it. They're getting $20 million from SoFi for wearing that patch on their jersey. The whole Big 12, they're splitting that $20 million. So, and anybody would want their team to be independent if they were. So I mean, I feel like...
James, look, first and foremost, like, I'm going to give you a lot of credit because you're bringing up a lot of great numbers and a lot of stats behind it. Like, you're supporting your facts. First of all, I'm giving you an A on your progress report right now, okay? Number one. All right, you're bringing up the numbers. And the reason why you're able to stay independent when other schools that are independent can't or get bullied into is because you're Notre Dame. You have the NBC contract that's paid you forever. Like, you are Notre Dame, James. It's not like you're just a normal independent school. You are the school that is Notre Dame, all right, all the way back from Newt Rockne. So you guys have built the cachet to be Notre Dame and to stay independent, and that is why teams will pay you $20 or SoFi will pay you $20 million itself to represent and have a patch on your jersey. So, James, thanks for the call. We're going to get up out of here. And, yes, Notre Dame has my respect, especially under Coach Freeman. They are really good this year. I can't wait to see what they do. All right, next caller, let's go to Swamp Dog from Georgia. Swamp Dog, what's up, baby? Welcome to the Feinbaum Show again.
Hey, good afternoon, Roman.
Yes, sir.
You're looking good as always, man.
Thank you, brother.
It's an honor to talk to you again. You're the snappiest dresser and one of the best analysts in the sport.
Thank you.
And
keep going.
One of the best guys there. One of the best guys to ever sit in that chair too.
Appreciate that. Keep going.
Keep
going,
Paul
Swamp Dog.
Oh man, I'm bragging on you. Okay, but I want to brag on the show a little bit today. Is what I wanted to do. I didn't even know you was going to be there, but it's like I say, it's an honor to talk to you. But I want to talk about the show, the way that Paul handles this show. You know, a lot of people, you know how this show works.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people call this show with a lot of problems. Physical problems, health issues and life problems, all those things. And Paul is very compassionate with all these people.
He is, really is. I see him on the road.
He does such a good job with that. And I wanted to call him today. I want to tell him it's not. It goes beyond that. It goes into the spiritual world too. Because I met a guy through the Paul Feinbaum show, just from a caller thing. He lived in Memphis, Tennessee. I live in Waycross, Georgia. That's a long way apart right there. But I was talking about my brother being in the Marines, and he was actually in the Marines too. And he heard me talking about my brother. He wanted to get in contact with me. And this is a very spiritual kind of man. And we did start talking to each other. And he changed my life, Roman. I'm telling you, my life got changed through this show, literally. And he actually mailed me a Bible and a couple of other spiritual books to read about getting closer to Jesus Christ. And we'd have Bible study over the telephone together. And it has really, this has happened in the last year, and I believe he has passed away. His wife called me after he had a real bad stroke, and he was in the hospital. And but I haven't been able to get in touch with him since then. So, and I hadn't heard anything from him. So I believe he did pass. He was 77 years old, and but one of the last things that he did was reach out to me, and it would never have happened if it was not for this show. And I don't know if Paul realizes. I know a lot of people talk to him about how generous he is and compassionate he is with people in this world, but it goes in beyond that because he's changed my life and he's brought me closer to Jesus. Not him. He's a resource. And Bill was a resource. The source came from God. But they were used as a resource to get to me and make me the way that I feel today and the relationship that I have with the Lord today. And I wanted to share that today. I don't know if anybody's listening or wants to hear all that today. I know it's a sports show, and, I get into it. Me and you talk. But I think sometimes things like that need to be expressed.
Yep.
And I don't know if you feel that way or not, man, but I don't know. I felt compelled today and kind of led to say that today.
Well, Swamp Dog,
I'm happy to say it to you too, brother, because I like you a lot too.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your testimony, and I appreciate that. I mean, this is what Paul Feinbaum show is all about, in my experience, is that people get their own perspectives. They learn. They get to come together as a community. The Feinbaum Callers is a real thing. So we're going to go to break here. We got to get out for a second. We'll be back with more of your calls and more guests. Bill Bender coming up after the mic. More personality, more of me. How about me? All right, we're more of me after the break on the Paul Feinbaum Show.
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.
All right, we're back. You're reading the headline right there, ranking the 25 greatest college football personalities of all time, from Eddie O to Beano Cook. And Beano is number 2 on the list, behind the great Lee Corso, Mike Leach at 3, Keith Jackson, Brian Boss, the Boss, the Paul Feinbaum. I think he should be higher. It's okay. Nick Saban at 9, Tim Tebow, I'm not going to call him Messiah. I read too many books for that. But Tim Tebow is great. My co-host, Tim Tebow, and I've seen the madness that is the Tebow mania. Oregon's mascot Puddles at 24, maybe. Gus Johnson, underrated, needs to be higher. Deion Sanders possibly underrated as well. Newt Rockne, I think that's underrated at 19. The fact that hold on, bring in the article guy, Bill Bender, a.k.a. the mind bender. Bill, when I saw this article, I read it, I saw the numbers, I immediately wanted to jump in. Welcome to the Paul Feinbaum Show, first and foremost. What gave you the mindset to actually put this list together? Let's start there. Is there any criteria? Kind of give me the back scoop on it all.
Yeah, Sporting News is celebrating its 140th anniversary, and we did the greatest teams and greatest players by decade and all of those things. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. And one of the things I love about college football is it has a ton of personality.
It does.
Whether it is a mascot or a announcer or a player from every decade. One that stuck out when I was younger was Bosworth. And I had a chance to meet him last December, and I was still kind of like scared a little bit at the Nagurski presentation. He still looks every bit as intimidating and like he can play. And the funny thing is my kids know him as the sheriff of Fansville. So it was a lot of fun putting those lists together. A lot of ESPN personalities obviously on there. But it's part of what makes this game go and big reason why I love it.
All right, let's start right there at the top of the list. Well, actually at the bottom, but as it comes out on the website, the top. Eddie O, he's 25, so that's a starting point. So everybody inside of that is better than Eddie O. So Ed Ogeron at 25. With that raspy voice, is it because what makes Ed Ogeron 25?
Nobody fits program and region better than Coach O.
There's no doubt.
When they were on that run in 2019 with Joe Burrow, it was so unique. I think he's true to himself. The voice is, I can't, don't ask me to impersonate it right now. Nobody can do it justice, but he really is. We were kicking around throwing Lane Kiffin in there, but now that Ed O's back, I mean, how could you not have him on a list like this? He's one of the truly great personalities in the game.
So I got some other questions here. So I'm going to poke some holes in your list, if that's fine.
Sure.
All right. Gus Johnson only at 23. I want to know, would Gus Johnson have moved up in your list if he wasn't calling big noon games between like Iowa and somebody else, but instead was on maybe an SEC night game where it's maybe a lot more eyes, maybe a little bit more like I'm more ready for Gus Johnson-esque abilities calling games. Would he have been higher if maybe on that one?
Maybe, and I think he'll continue to move up this list the longer we listen to him, right? Because the Indiana call last year on the touchdown by Omar Cooper Jr., it was awesome. It was so awesome because you could tell, again, the word passion. He put so much into the booth there. And, as somebody who lives up here in Columbus, Ohio, he does do a lot of Ohio State games, a lot of Michigan games, and he puts so much passion into that. I think Klatt and him do a great job, and I would look for him. I think he's a younger generation's guy that will continue to move up this list.
I love that. Okay, so we got chances to move up too. Okay, all right. Here's my next one. Newt Rockne behind Johnny Manziel. Look, I get it. Money Manziel. We all were flashing the money signs up, all these other things. How is Newt Rockne behind Johnny Manziel? Newt Rockne was 105-12-5 as a head coach. I mean, the business attire on the sidelines. The Four Horsemen. I thought that was a wrestling thing. It actually started back in Notre Dame. Like, tell me how's Newt Rockne behind Johnny Manziel?
That's fair. And with Grantland Rice, the famous writer during that era, who I go back and read his column sometime and I get jealous. And this was over 100 years ago that he's painting the pictures that he's painting with college football. Rockne's certainly a large personality. But with Manziel, I look at somebody that he might have been the last player where I always describe it this way, where when they played Alabama the second time, I had a bunch of friends that had no dog in the fight, so to speak. Half of them were rooting for Alabama, which, again, this is in Columbus, Ohio. And the other half were rooting for Manziel. And if you remember that game, Manziel had a huge game, but Alabama won. So nobody won, in effect. But I thought he had that kind of effect on the game, certainly. And you saw it a little bit last year with Diego Pavia and, Manziel being on the sideline at some of those games.
It's so true. It's just some people do have electrifying personalities, and for whatever reason, it's just magnetism, and you just want to be a part of whatever that madness is. We don't know how it's good. We don't know how the car is going to make it home, but we want to be in the car. That it doesn't sound safe, but it sounds like a lot of fun. That is what Johnny Manziel represented in college sports. Another one I want to poke a hole in. Nick Saban behind Lou Holtz. Now, I want to allow you to explain how Nick Saban is behind Lou Holtz with more national championships, possibly. Tell me why first, and then I want to see if you can respond to a couple reasons.
Well, I thought you were going to be happy that Nick Saban was ahead of Uga, right? He was ahead of the Bulldog.
I didn't even think Uga should have been up there. I didn't even think Uga should have been up there. It wasn't even worth my time. You know what I mean? I like Uga, whatever number it's on. I'm a big fan of Georgia. But Nick Saban behind Lou Holtz.
Well, I think here's a couple things right there. Lou Holtz is divided into two parts as well.
Yes.
You know, there's Lou Holtz, the Notre Dame coach, the Arkansas coach, the Cheerios Bowl comment after the Sugar Bowl against Florida. That's how I remember Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
Is this
I know him from South Carolina head
yeah.
coach. So he's got many hats.
And then he becomes an analyst for ESPN. Unbelievable presence on that network, obviously. And then even later with the back and forth with Ryan Day, he was still in the limelight up until the end. And here's one thing I will say about Nick Saban. I feel it's the same way. Nick Saban, the coach, we know the throw in the headsets, the national title, the presence. That's another word. He had presence, and he still does. And I really enjoy him on game day because it's a different Nick Saban.
Yes.
But the presence is there. He speaks out about the sport. That's pretty close between those two, if we're being honest. But again, I was very careful to make sure that Nick Saban was ahead of Uga, the highest of the live mascots. We decided Uga was the best and had the most personality, and I can stand on that one.
And you know what? Just, Bill, the simple answer would have Lou Holtz ahead of Nick Saban. Simple answer. Lou Holtz has 7 hole-in-ones. You know what I mean? Period.
I mean, well, and I say this. I was at a function a couple years ago, and Lou Holtz was supposed to be a guest speaker, couldn't make it, left a video message, and I'm not kidding. Everybody put their phone down, their fork down, whatever, to listen to what Lou Holtz had to say. It was a great message at the time. He just had that impact. I mean, and his path from coach to analyst to, just an influence on faith, family, and football, I think it stood out to the very end with him. And it even may bleed into this season a little bit for Notre Dame with him passing away. I think that's even another reason why Notre Dame is kind of in that national championship hunt. They'll be playing for Lou, too.
All right, so the last one. And shout out Lou Holtz. I mean, he's one of the greatest all time to ever do it. Shout out Lou Holtz. Paul Feinbaum, the reason why I'm here. How is he at 6? He's ahead of Nick Saban. Is this the only list that Paul Feinbaum would ever be ahead of Nick Saban in?
Yeah, you'll have to tell him that. And one spot behind Bosworth, who I don't think he's going to get in an Oklahoma drill with. But I think my appearances on this show, I enjoy Paul. I think he's contributed so much to the game because he's created an outlet for people to, vent, obviously. And number 2, his analysis is no filter. It always has been.
Yep.
He creates a reaction. He certainly creates a reaction up here in Big Ten country. But as I always tell my friends, he is one of the nicest men to be around. I'm lucky to come on his show. I think very early in my career, he went after me a little bit about the Big Ten. And, he doesn't know this, but some of my friends still repeat some of the lines he was using 13 years later. So I really appreciate what he's done for college football.
All right. And, of course, you got the Pirate at 3. How does Coach Mike Leach make it to 3? I know he was a trendsetter with the run-and-shoot offense and throw it all over the ballpark. But ultimately, how is he there? And, of course, you have to mention Lee Corso and what he's done for college sports itself on College Game Day. Well,
I think, how about this? He never took himself too seriously. And I think it's a great lesson for all of us. You get so wound up about your job and, making mistakes and these kind of things. Well, Mike Leach was this coach that made it fun for everybody. Some of his press conferences always, made headlines, obviously. I always divert back to the Halloween candy rankings he did. But he made football fun at Texas Tech, at Washington State, at Mississippi State. And I would say Bino and Lee, they made it fun for everybody. And the two things with them, the genuine niceness, what they've contributed to the game. I know the conversations I had with Lee Corso, you would leave and you would be excited, not only that you got to talk to him, but you would be more excited about this great game that we're going to get to enjoy for the next couple months.
Well, Bill, you're off the hot seat, brother. You did a great job. I knew I was ready to poke holes in it. You had some great explanations. Remember, Lou Holtz, 7 holes in ones. That's why he's ahead of Nick Saban. At the end of the day, that's good enough in my book. I appreciate you joining us, as always, and hopefully Paul brings you back again. Coming up after the break, David Ubben of The Athletic. More questions, more answers on the Paul Feinbaum Show. Here with your host today, Roman Harper.
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.
We are back. And yes, with another great one. David Ubben wrote this one. Which AP top 25 teams are underrated and overrated? I mean, this is perfect for the Paul Feinbaum Show. This is what we tune into every day. Let's go right to the lines with David Ubben. David, welcome to the Paul Feinbaum Show. I knew you're supposed to be on Zoom, but heard your power's not working, so thank you for still.
That is true. Hopefully the studio can hold up. Charlotte's we're going through it right now.
Oh, I've been hearing it inside this studio, so I can only imagine. Outside of here, I feel very safe, but outside the studio, I'm like, dude, there's probably stuff going down out there. So thanks for joining us today. Now, let's start with the topic of the article. A lot of people already believe why is there even a release of a top 25 before anybody plays games? You do understand that, right?
Sure, but people want to talk about something. You know, people say, oh, well, you know, the media or the coaches, what's the point? If they didn't release one, there would be one. You know, somebody would do it. They'd fill the gap because people talk about this, people want to know. So why not do it with people who actually know what they're talking about, with media and to some degree coaches as well?
Okay, well, as a former player, I would attest to that. I don't know if media always knows, all right? I would lead with that first, even though I work, you know. But as a former player, I'm like, whoa, media does not know everything. All right, let's go to one of those teams you're talking about. It is underrated. I'll start at the top with Texas. Texas at number 5 in the AP poll. You said it's underrated. If they're underrated, where do they go? Where do they fall in your eyes?
Well, I think, you know, when people talk about the preseason top 25, it's like people with the Charlie Day meme where they're like looking. People try to like game the schedule, and it's like, well, it's a lot of projecting. I don't.
Yes.
The way I sort of view it is like, who's got the best teams right now? And so when I went around this off season and talked to people, you know, you're talking to coaches. You say, oh, who's got the best roster? Texas overwhelmingly was the answer. And so, you know, is some of that buyer's remorse from voting Texas number 1 a year ago?
I was exactly what I was going to bring up.
They don't make the playoffs. Is some of that, you know, skepticism about Steve Sarkisian, annoyance with the Arch Manning height? Maybe. But the reality is that I do believe that Texas has the best roster in the country. So for them to not get any first-place votes is surprising, and for them to be number 5, below teams that they are better than, I thought was surprising.
Okay, so if Texas is 5, you have them higher. Who are they better than? Ohio State, a team that they lost to last year, and I know this is about this year, and it's all projecting. A Georgia team that
Everybody.
they haven't.
I'd have voted them number 1. I didn't vote in this poll. I don't vote in any top 25.
Okay.
I'd have voted Texas number 1.
I love that. So you're the advocate of Texas number 1 back-to-back seasons. Put it there. That's fine. David Ubben?
I mean, you look at what they did for the roster. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you know, you got to think Arch Manning is going to improve. But adding Relief Brown and Hollywood Smothers is massive. Cam Coleman, probably the best player overall in the portal in general. They add him, you know, doing pretty well, upgrading both lines. You add Raheem Biles. Like, nobody did better in the portal than Texas, and their baseline was already pretty strong. Mm-hmm. To me, I think it's clear they're the best team. Will the schedule bear that out? Will Steve Sarkisian's red zone play calling bear that out?
There we go.
Will Arch Manning actually take a step forward? I think those are all fair questions, but when you view the poll like I do, which is just who are the best teams coming into the season, Texas, I thought it all season's been clear they're number 1.
All right. Miami at 7, underrated.
Same thing. I mean, people, again, I think they upgraded at quarterback. I'd take Darian Mensah over Carson Beck all day. You still have Mark Fletcher. You lose Myoga at the on the offensive line, and obviously, missing Akeem Mesidor and Ubben Bain is a problem. But you add Damon Wilson from Missouri, a guy who had 9 sacks in the SEC last year. They might have the best receiving core in the country, with bringing Malachi Tony back. You add Cooper Barkay. This is a good team that is a better roster than they were a year ago. So if I see them at 7, I'd probably have them in the top 3, probably not any lower than 4 or 5.
And you know what? The thing is that I spoke to, I'll just put a name on it. I spoke to John Vilma, and he told me this Miami team looks legit. He was like, I had questions. He said, dude, I've always questioned some things at Miami. I'm looking at this O-line, this team looks the part. And so Mario Cristobal deserves a lot of credit for the roster that he's built out, especially up front on both sides. He's like, dude, this team looks legit. We're going to have to see because you still got to go out and play the games. But this Miami team, I might be with you on that one, David. It's real talk. All right, LSU at 11, underrated in Lane Kiffin's first year. Now this one, you got to explain to me, and I want you to walk me through this because it's hard. It's hard to say I project that LSU is 11th best. That's what the AP has them. You say they should be higher, and we're just projecting, and you're going purely off of roster accumulated talent. Is that correct or incorrect?
I mean, I think it's the total picture of, what is the team that you have. And I think from LSU's perspective, I think these polls are generally biased for teams that had success a year ago because people saw it, and biased against teams that didn't have success a year ago. LSU goes 7-6, but that was a very underachieving roster. I think Garrett Nussmeier's oblique injury had a huge reason for a lot of that. They still bring back a ton of talent. You add Jordan Seaton. I really like Sam Levitt. I think when you look at what Lane Kiffin has done, you could maybe make a case for the 24 LSU team losing a couple games. But he hasn't had an underachiever. And I think when you look at the totality of the roster, LSU's got a top 3 to 5 roster too. 11 seems very, very low for this team. So again, there's some of this leftover annoyance toward Lane. There's some of this just seeing LSU look pretty average a lot last year. I'd say probably maybe a little bit of both of that. But the reality is that this is one of the best rosters in the country.
And so if you say LSU at 11 is underrated, then the homer in me has to ask you, where do you see Alabama at? Just rated correctly, overrated, underrated? They're at 13. They were a playoff team along with Texas Tech last year. Where do you think that the AP?
They're probably about right. I mean, the reality is they didn't really make a lot of splashes in the portal. You didn't lose a ton that really concerns you. But when you're Alabama and you look around, Texas is getting better. Ohio State is getting better. We talked about Miami. We talked about LSU. All these teams are adding all these big-time additions. Alabama didn't do a whole lot of that. They added a couple nice pieces. I kind of like what they did. But when you're competing for national championships, that's Alabama didn't do national championship caliber work in the portal to fix their roster. And then, of course, I think Keelan Russell's going to be really, really good. I like him a lot. I think he's going to finish winning that job. But he hasn't done it yet, and he's still a first-year starter. He's barely played. That, I think, lowers the team's ceiling generally. There's probably going to be a game or two that Alabama loses this year just because of that inexperience. So I think Alabama was about right for me. I think they're a fringe playoff team. If Russell comes out and he's a star, they're probably a top 7-8 team. But if he's struggling, if he's up and down, I don't think Bama looks like a playoff team at all.
All right. Well, overrated. Let's go on the other side. Who is overrated, according to David Ubben?
I think you look at, again, I think returning talent, especially at quarterback, and what you did last year. I think there's a lot of bias built into these preseason polls. They just watched you do it. Ole Miss, top of that list for me.
Say it again. Make sure our hearers and listeners got to say that team again.
Ole Miss is the top of that list.
Ole Miss.
Again, I think you bring back probably the best quarterback in the country in Trinidad Chambliss. That's who I think is the best quarterback in the country. But loses both of his tackles, loses basically all his receivers. I love Kejuan Lacey, without the offensive line that he had last year. That's going to be kind of an uphill battle. They lose a ton defensively as well.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive staff has been gutted. Pete Golding was really impressive in the playoff, but I think coaching a really motivated, angry team for 2 or 3 games is a lot different than managing a roster through the offseason, developing in the spring, making decisions about all kinds of team on game day, through camp, hitting the right buttons, pushing guys, pulling guys back when you need to. Those are different things that you learn through experience. And I think with a first-time head coach there's going to be some bumpy roads there as well. Ole Miss, that's not one of the 10 best rosters in the country. That's not one of the 10 best teams in the country. But I think people saw them shine in the playoff and said, well, they still got Trinidad coming back. I like this team. Pete Golding won me over in the playoff. But you look a little closer, there's a lot of warts on that team that really raise a ton of questions.
Yeah, and they're top 5. They're top 10. I'm with you on that.
Not one of the 10 best teams in the country, at all. I don't see that.
I'm not ready to say
16,
that.
17, 18.
Oh, you do? All the way 16, 17, 18. Not okay. I love David Ubben already today. I love this. Just bringing in some heat. The last team, I got to get you out of here, but I would have looked at that Michigan team as being possibly a fringe team. They won 9 games last year. You bring in Willingham, I think it's automatic upgrade.
I do. I just think it's a lot of pieces that we haven't seen, and a lot of people doing new stuff for the first time. I like them a ton on paper, but I just think it's not as simple when you're playing fantasy football of Kyle Whittingham killed it doing more with less at Utah. Now we're going to take him to a blue blood and see what he can do. It might work. It makes sense on paper,
right?
But you just don't really know until you do it. I do think Bryce Underwood is a really, really good fit for Jason Beck's offense. I think he's going to shine. I think they need to have a little bit more creativity. Last year,
1,000%.
The way that they were calling plays under Sherrone Moore, they looked like they thought they still had the offensive line that they rode to the 23 title. They just didn't, and they seemed like they were in denial about that. And so that was a problem. And I think that's going to be fixed with this new coaching staff, but a lot of moving pieces. And to say the least, I think this coaching staff will be a little more focused than the previous one.
To say the least. David Ubben, appreciate it. Thank you so much. You had a lot of quote-worthy statements in that segment. Going to a break now. We'll be back with more of your calls and more of your answers on the Paul Feinbaum Show.
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.
All right, we're back here on the Paul Feinbaum Show. And yes, guess who I'm going to? One of the normal callers all the time. And I guess he probably can't wait to talk to me. Bring him in next, JK, the Bama hater, even though it doesn't say that. But I know who it is. I brought my shield and armor ready to go for you today and my sword. Let's go.
Hey, you got your hard hat on because I'm about to go to work on you.
I'm ready.
You doing all right today?
I'm doing good, JK, man. Good hearing your voice as always, bro.
Hey, Roman, I'm going to get on you, man, because I'm still waiting on your appearance on the Fanatical podcast, but we'll put that to the side for right now. And I'm still waiting on that 48 loan. So, I'm going to take it easy on you. But now I'm going to talk a little football. Now, you just asked one of the last guests about overrated and underrated.
Yep.
Now, let me give you the number one underrated team in college football the preseason is my Miami Hurricanes. We should be no lower than number 3.
Okay.
Now, let me give you I got a few overrated teams.
Okay. Oh, hold on. You need to defend why you guys need to be number 3 first. Don't just blow past that.
All right. First of all, you got to respect us making it to the national championship game and one drive away from winning it all.
Mm-hmm.
We got, if not a better offense than we did last season because we added Mensah and the wide receiver from Duke, which he is a 1,400-yard receiver to go along with Malachi.
Yep.
And one of the best running backs in the country.
You know what? You sold me, JK.
Ahead.
You sold me.
All right,
who's overrated?
All right, overrated. I got a few of those people. Now let's start with Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss is going to be what we think or what they think because once you get past the quarterback and Lacey, what else are they bragging on? You got to replace all of those wide receivers. So I don't think it's going to be as potent as last season. Let me go on down my list. The Fighting Irish, Leprechaun, Notre Dame. What are they basing all of this on?
The easy schedule? They got a really good roster.
Yeah, they got an easy schedule, but I don't respect Notre Dame and what they did. I commend them for getting away with it, but I still want to know who pockets got lined to get these guys a guaranteed playoff spot. Join the ACC, join some conference, and play a conference championship game if you make it that far and earn your way. You just can't buy your way into the playoffs, and then you want praise if you get in there and win a couple of games. I just don't have no respect for them. Now, let me go down the list to one of the darlings, USC.
I'm with you. I'm with you on a lot of these, JK. I don't know how, but I'm agreeing with you today. I'm kind of with
which
you.
Has become the Gonzaga of college football. They pick them every year, and they don't do anything. It's just a wasted pick. And I know you're not going to like this one, but you know I'm going to get on you. Alabama. And I'm going to explain. I just don't come up with this stuff. I have reasons and facts behind it. Now, I'm going to give you a blind resume, and at the end, I'm going to give you the name of the team of this blind resume. They lost 3 of their last 6 games. Mm-hmm. They lost by 20-plus points in a conference championship game. Mm-hmm. They lost by 30-plus in the playoffs. They have no running game. They have 3 quarterbacks with no starting experience in the SEC. Mm-hmm. This team is Auburn Tigers. Would Auburn be preseason number 3? Number 13?
No, but it's not Auburn you're talking about. You're talking about Alabama, JK. And to be honest with you, this is what they live on. And we are projecting for this year's season. More after the 5 o'clock break, man. We'll see y'all on the other side of the hour.
You're listening to the Paul Feinbaum Show podcast.